Have you ever wondered how one simple mistake could completely change the world? Not a huge decision, not a calculated risk, just one small error. What if I told you that a single mistake made by an ordinary man altered the course of history forever? Sounds unbelievable, right? But it happened. In today's video, we're exploring how one man's misstep sent ripples through time, transforming nations and reshaping the world as we know it. It's a story of unintended consequences, grand discoveries, and the surprising ways that even the smallest error can impact the future. You won't want to miss this incredible tale. And if you enjoy uncovering these hidden twists in history, make sure to hit that subscribe button and become a part of our journey here at City on a Mountain. The power of mistakes in history. Let's begin by thinking about how often mistakes happen in our everyday lives. You miss a bus, you forget a meeting, you misplace your keys. Usually they're just small inconveniences, but what if that mistake had the power to alter the future? In history, the tiniest blunders can lead to seismic shifts. From military errors to misjudged decisions, there are countless examples of moments when one misstep set off a chain reaction. Imagine what would have happened if the pilot of the Enola Gay had missed his target over Hiroshima, or if a scientist mixed the wrong chemical during a critical experiment. Sometimes these moments lead to disaster, but other times they create opportunities beyond what anyone could imagine. The story we're going to dive into today is a perfect example of how a miscalculation reshaped the course of history. It's a tale that begins with a man you've definitely heard of, but a mistake you probably didn't know about. The miscalculation that led to the New World. Enter Christopher Columbus, a name synonymous with exploration. Columbus, like many explorers of his time, was driven by a desire to find new trade routes to Asia. The world, after all, was expanding, and whoever controlled the fastest route to the riches of the East, spices, silk, and gold, would hold incredible power. But there was just one problem. Columbus got it wrong. Columbus made a critical mistake in his calculations about the size of the Earth. He believed the planet was much smaller than it is, leading him to conclude that sailing west from Europe would bring him directly to Asia. Armed with this flawed assumption, he convinced Spain's Queen Isabella to fund his voyage. And so, in 1492, Columbus set sail. But instead of arriving in Asia, he stumbled upon a landmass that Europeans hadn't even considered, what we now know as the Americas. Columbus thought he'd reached the East Indies, but in reality, he was thousands of miles off target. Imagine thinking you're about to land in Japan and instead finding yourself on a completely different continent. But here's the thing, Columbus's mistake wasn't just a wrong turn. It was the gateway to a new era of global exploration. His blunder opened the door to colonization, conquest, and the eventual formation of new nations. What would have happened if Columbus had known about the vast Pacific Ocean separating Europe from Asia? Would he have even set sail? And what would the world look like today if he hadn't? The ripple effect of Columbus's mistake, Columbus's error, was just the beginning. His discovery of the New World set off a cascade of events that would forever change the course of history. The Spanish quickly followed, launching expeditions across the Americas, driven by the thirst for gold, land, and power. Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro conquered the mighty Aztec and Inca empires, respectively, leading to the establishment of a vast Spanish empire in the Americas. But it wasn't just Europe that was impacted. The Columbian Exchange, which followed Columbus's voyages, saw the transfer of crops, animals, and even diseases between the Old and New Worlds. Europe gained crops like potatoes, tomatoes, and maize, foods that would become essential staples in diets around the globe. On the flip side, the Americas were introduced to horses, cattle, and devastating European diseases like smallpox, which decimated indigenous populations. Columbus's miscalculation didn't just change the physical map of the world, it forever altered the cultural, political, and economic landscapes. Millions of lives were affected, and the ripple effects of this single mistake continue to be felt even today. Mistakes that lead to discoveries. The penicillin example. While Columbus's mistake led to vast exploration and colonization, not all errors have such a complex legacy. Some mistakes, in fact, have a much more universally positive outcome. Consider the case of Alexander Fleming and the accidental discovery of penicillin. It was 1928, and Fleming was busy in his laboratory when he made what seemed like an insignificant error. He left one of his petri dishes uncovered, allowing it to become contaminated with mold. When he returned to his work, he noticed something peculiar. The mold wasn't just growing, it was killing off the bacteria around it. What Fleming had stumbled upon by accident was penicillin, the world's first antibiotic. This mistake would go on to save millions of lives by revolutionizing medicine. Infections that once meant certain death could now be treated effectively, and the world entered a new era of medical science. Just like Columbus, Fleming's mistake was a turning point in history. But unlike Columbus, the impact of his error was overwhelmingly positive. It shows us that not all mistakes lead to negative consequences. Some lead to breakthroughs that benefit all of humanity. Lessons from history's greatest mistakes. So, what can we learn from these monumental mistakes? First, mistakes aren't always bad. In fact, they can sometimes lead to discoveries and opportunities that were previously unimaginable. Columbus thought he was on his way to Asia, but ended up reshaping the globe. Fleming's oversight in his lab gave birth to antibiotics, which continue to save lives every day. But the real lesson here isn't just about history, it's about how we handle mistakes in our own lives. Do we see them as dead ends or stepping stones, as failures or opportunities? History is filled with examples of errors that led to something bigger and better, often in ways that no one could have predicted. The next time you make a mistake, whether it's big or small, remember that you're in good company. Some of the world's most important breakthroughs started with an error. What matters most is how you respond to it. Now, let's turn the question back to you. How do you handle your own mistakes? Do you see them as failures, or do you recognize their potential for something greater? Mistakes are a part of life, and history proves that they can lead to some of the most important moments in human progress. If this story intrigued you, and if you enjoy looking at history through a different lens, then I encourage you to join us here at City on a Mountain by hitting that subscribe button. We bring you fascinating stories like this every week, exploring the unexpected twists that shape the world we live in today. You never know, your next great discovery could be just one mistake away. Thank you for watching City on a Mountain. History is full of surprises, and sometimes the smallest mistake can lead to the biggest changes. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, share, and of course, subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. We've got plenty of incredible stories lined up that will make you see history in a whole new light. Until next time, keep exploring the unknown, and remember, every mistake is just the beginning of something new.